Pierre, congratulations on ATD being 60 years old this year. Could you tell me how and why ATD was set up in 1957 and how your work has evolved since?
Yes, thank you, Darren, for this question. Yeah, so this year we are celebrating the 60th anniversary of the founding of ATD, and this creation took place in a slum near Paris in 1957, so exactly 60 years ago now. How did it happen? In fact, 1 year before, a Catholic priest named Joseph Wresinski was sent to his bishop to this slum, and he was told, well, see what you can do. I already sent a few priests, and none of them managed to stay there. The people were not so nice to him. So Wresinski accepted because, in a certain way, he knew poverty in his childhood, and at that time he was in his 40s, and he probably knew he wanted to commit to go back to his roots and do something on this level. So he went there, and he started to live in this slum. And, well, fairly quickly, with a few families, adults in the community living there, they wanted to create what we call an association in France, which means to register a charity who could raise funds and have a little bit of money for projects. So that's how it started, and what they created at the start was a real community project. So they opened a library for the children. They opened a workshop for the mothers to be able to earn a little bit of money doing little pieces of work. They opened a beauty salon also for the mothers, and also built a chapel. So it was the start of ATD was a community initiative of very marginalized poor people, together with this man, Joseph Wresinski. Gradually, Wresinski still lived there. Gradually, volunteers came in the summer to help Wresinski. And these young people from Germany, from the UK, from Belgium, were so moved and so grasped by this work that at one point, a few years later, they decided to say to Wresinski, we are ready, and invited them, we are ready to stay with you and to work with you in this slum. And that's how what we call the ATD International Volunteer Corps started. And that's the beginning of a long story, which leads us today to ATD International. At the beginning, ATD stood for Aide à toute détresse, which is a French expression meaning a little bit help to any situation of distress, to what ATD stands now, all together in dignity. And so ATD exists in 40 countries, and we could say there are around 100 projects, or I would more say there are 100 local communities of ATD where you have people who have a strong experience of poverty who are part of these communities, but also people who are in mainstream society, and together they build a community, together they run projects, and together they raise voice.
How many staff do you have working with you here in Ireland, and how many staff indeed do you have internationally? And could you tell us what your typical week in the organisation here in Ireland would consist of?
It's interesting, this question, because we could say we have staff, of course. I'm here full time, and you met Charlotte and Lisha and Fabienne, who are also full time. But in a certain way, we don't use this word frequently. As I told you, the start of the organization, I said a few people with Wresinski decided to stay and live in a slum. And that's how the ATD International Volunteer Corps started. And today this volunteer corps still exists. We are around 450 individuals who decided to spend their time full time in this volunteer corps. So I have been part of this volunteer corps for 25 years now, and Lisha, you met in the office, is discovering this volunteer corps. She has been with us now for over 6 months. So we are 450 in the world, and in Ireland here we have a team of 4 volunteers, full-time volunteers. But again, I like the word volunteers because all the strengths, all the energy, all the activities of ATD are run by volunteers. So we have 450, depending the years, permanent volunteers, but we have also loads of other volunteers who make ATD possible. And these volunteers can be people who have an experience of poverty, or people who, in a certain way, again, are in mainstream society, don't feel marginalized at all, and are also want also to express solidarity with the poorest.
Yeah. What would your typical week here in Dublin consist of? What do you do, like?
Okay. Yeah. So again, it depends. From Lisha is not doing the same thing as I do, but basically we have a team meeting on Monday where the full-time staff or volunteers are there. And then we have usually, in each week, we have 1 or 2 what we could call collective moment, community event, where we can try to gather with people who experience poverty and marginalization, and we work together on a subject. So this week, for instance, we have 2 of these meetings. One of this meeting is tonight. We are marking the start of the European Sustainable Development Week by doing what we call Leave No One Behind Café. And then on Thursday evening or at 4 o'clock, we have the 3rd meeting of a project we call Stories of Change. So these are we build the community in a certain way. We meet and we work on subjects which are important for each of us and which are, of course, focusing on making change possible for people in poverty. The rest of the time, of course, there is advocacy work. There we participate to networks, so we have meetings in different networks. This week, ATD is part of the community platform, so we are going to be at the community platform meeting on Thursday. And then Lisha, Fabienne, myself, everybody at one point is outside of the office and is visiting our friends who are sometimes isolated. Sometimes it's difficult for them to move and to come and see us here at the office. So we go to Ballyfermot, we go to Ballymon, or here in the north in the city. And we visit people at home. We visit friends, we visit volunteers. It's not recipients of help. It's people who are part of our community. And together we want to change things.
I know we're in your head office now at the moment on Mountjoy Square. Are you? Does your work consist when you're visiting people? Is it solely in Dublin, or do you have volunteers in other counties?
No, for now, basically, we are reaching people in Dublin. We may have friends who are beyond because we get to know them in Dublin and they moved. So from time to time, we go and visit somebody we get to know who was part of our local community, and we keep in touch. So it happens. But for now on, ATD still managed to build this kind of a group and activity in Dublin.
Yeah, I interviewed you in February about your new Stop Poverty campaign. Could you remind our listeners about the campaign, please? And could you tell us about any other campaigns you have going at the moment in Ireland and indeed internationally?
Yes, so the Stop Poverty campaign, covers, I would say, 4 areas. The first one is what we call the Stop Poverty Call to Action. And this is a global international call to action you can find on internet. And the website address is www.poverty-stop.org. So poverty-stop.org. And here you can express your support to a statement which in a certain way is just saying that the call of Wresinski on the first UN Day for Eradication of Poverty, the 17 October 87, is still fully valid. And we still have the sacred duty, for using the word of Wresinski, to come together to make an end to poverty. So that's the first thing, and people can go on the website and sign. And then in this Stop Poverty campaign, we have 2 other kind of long-term dynamics. One is the Story of Change activity. So we are collecting stories of people who stories which can help others to make a move or to take stand for people in poverty. And so we have workshops which are happening here in Dublin. But if people are interested to share a story, it's possible also, and this can be also found on the website povertystop.org. The third and final element of the campaign for now is has been launched a month ago here in Dublin 1, but is still to be run and to be developed, is what we call the When Voices Unite project. And the idea is to liaise with people who like to sing, with choirs, and to gradually prepare a singing event which will take place on the UN Day for the Eradication of Poverty next 17 October 2017. It will be from 7 to 9 in Woodkey Hall, the Dublin City place where many meetings take place.
Dublin City Council.
Dublin City Council, exactly. So we hope we can gather 200, 300 people in the evening ready to sing together. And the idea would be to have a songs list which are really which contains songs for change, songs which give courage, which are songs people like to sing, people who are facing hardship, And so we are still liaising with different people, and this is also a call, if you listen and if you are interested. We are building this When Voices Unite project. And what is interesting is that concert will take place all over the world. Singing session will take place all over the world almost at the same time in Europe, and in New York and in Manila. And there will be a connection, a kind of spiritual and also technical connection between all these people singing together on the UN Day for the eradication of poverty.
You ATD are one of the main organisers of the International Day of Poverty, aren't you? And I know, as we're saying, you're 60 years old this year, but this year is also the 30th anniversary of the International Day for the Eradication of Poverty, isn't it? Is it the 30th?
Yeah, exactly. So, and that's why there is this campaign, this Stop Poverty campaign. It's less about the 60 years of ATD. Of course, it's something for an organization to say, okay, we have 60 years of experience. But I would say that for us, the main challenge is not the 60 past years, but the 13 coming years, the 13 years left of the 2030 agenda, where in a certain way we really want to succeed in this global commitment to end poverty by 2030 and end it in all its poverty in all its forms. So for us, the mobilization we are creating this year is not a celebration. It is a celebration, but it's mainly to say, look, guys, there is really a big challenge ahead of us. We have 13 years left now to make a big change in human history. And we want to do it because if we don't make this change now, if we don't reduce inequalities, if we don't eradicate extreme poverty, if we don't act on climate, the future for our children really will be bleak, because we fear more violence, we fear more migration, we fear more stress in our lives. And it's not that we don't need stress, we need stress, but we can avoid this kind of stress.
Yeah, you're talking about the Sustainable Development Goals, or as a lot of kids in school would know them, the Global Goals for Sustainable Development. ATD are big supporters of these goals, aren't you? Like, I notice you on Twitter talking about them fairly regularly.
Yes, well, it's difficult to summarize in a few words how, in a certain way, powerful these goals look, at least from my point of view. But they are comprehensive. They are really embracing the major issue we have to face together about gender equality, about inequalities in terms of wealth, about the basic needs of everyone: health, education, sanitation, and also the need to feel useful in a society, so decent work for everyone, and the eradication of poverty, and especially extreme poverty. Beyond all the goals, there is a promise, and this promise is also included in the 2030 agenda, is what some of us call the Leave No One Behind promise. So that's extraordinary. In this world where we say capitalism seems to have conquer the whole planet, and we feel there is no way out. In fact, our leaders decided that we have to move towards a society that leaves no one behind. So there is quite a kind of, tension or incoherence in this world. But the fact that now there is a formal, recognized United Nations agenda telling us let's build society that leave no one behind, gives me a lot of hope, because we can talk about it. We can hold our leaders to account. What do we do? How do we make steps towards this society which leaves no one behind? And we know it's not taken for granted. We have to make efforts. We have to grow together. We have a T-shirt, growing together to leave no one behind. It's a work to be done in progress. But I like the idea that we agreed, and that Enda Kenny and Michael D. Higgins and at that time the French President François Hollande and others, they agreed that this work in progress to leave no one behind is valid, and we have to work on it together.
Okay, Pierre, how can our listeners best support ATD and join ATD if they're interested?
Well, there are many ways you can support or join ATD. As I told you, it's a community. It's a group of people, very different, but for whom the idea of making an end or making sure that nobody has to live below a certain standard of living, and also making sure that nobody is marginalized because just of who he is, discriminated because he's in Ballymun, he comes from Ballymun, or discriminated because he comes from the North Inner City. So we invite people to meet us, and maybe they are interested to support us in one way or in another. We really make it very informal, and we'll try to find ways for people to support us, whatever the situation is. Of course, we are a charity. We managed to get maybe half of our money, not half of our money, from public funds, European funds, and national funds, grants, or from institution trusts. But that means we have to find the rest of the money among friends who are ready to donate. It could be €5 once a year, or it can be more, of course, but that's a big challenge for us too. So helping ATD can also mean just donating, sending us a gift, and there are ways on our website to do it. So and this week we are going towards the mini marathon, where a few people will run for ATD, and we hope we by the 15th of June we will be able to raise €3,500. It doesn't seem a big amount of money, but if we raise this €3,500, 2,500 will go to Manila, where we have a street library, and will help our work with children who are living in a cemetery. So homeless family who are using the little houses you find in a cemetery, mausoleum, as their home. So that's in Manila in the Philippines, and the additional 1,000 we could raise would help 20 young people here from a deprived community of Dublin to join a European meeting in the summer in the Netherlands. So yeah, we have always little challenges about the money. The big challenge for this year is to raise €17,000 through donations from private citizens. And if you decide to support us, thank you very much. It's a big help.
Okay, Pierre, it's great talking to you. We're talking again. Thanks very much.